Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Thursday of Koinonia Couch. Man, I am super, super pumped because this is the first time we've had an entire panel of people under the age of 20. And so, and since they're under the age of 21, none of them have ever tasted alcohol before. They've never seen it before. They've never seen nothing. They're just... But we're going to talk about, I think it's very important that we hear from our leaders of tomorrow. We've had all types of individuals here. This is the first time we ever had one composed of Christians in their teens. And they have a very unique perspective on a litany of issues. So I want us to hear from them today. But first, I want them to introduce themselves. They're going to say their name, their age, and their church affiliation. We're going to start on my left and work to my right. Go for it.
I'm Brooklyn. I'm 17, and I go to the Lake Church.
And who's your pastor?
Pastor Eric Herstrom.
Gotcha.
I'm Abby. I'm 18, and I go to Lake Church as well.
Awesome.
I'm Afia. I'm 18, and I go to Koinonia Christian Church.
Good job. That's a great church. I heard the pastor is phenomenal over there.
He's so
I heard about it.
I'm Fabiola. I'm 16, and I go to Fielder Church. My pastor is Joshua Ward.
Awesome.
I'm Kinsey. I'm 18, and I also go to Koinonia.
Awesome.
I'm Cole. I'm 15, and I go to Rush Creek.
You're 15? You sound like you're 48. Jesus Christ. Say your name again.
Cole.
You sound like God talking. It's the weirdest. Cole. My name is Cole, and I've come to set my people free. Go for it, sir.
My name is Noah. I'm 16, and I go to Koinonia.
And Noah's matching his deep voice with Cole's. So here's what I want to do. Just kind of break the ice. I'm going to say a word, right? And when I say a word and I point to you, I want you to tell me the first thing comes to mind when you hear this word. You can give me a descriptor or a one-word response. Well, when I say this word, I want you to respond with the first thing come to mind. Are y'all ready?
Yes.
Yeah. You ready? Dating.
Marriage.
Ooh. Okay. Profanity.
Cussing.
Okay. Mercy.
God.
Church.
Family.
Pastor.
Dad.
Figured that was an easy one. Adult.
Marty Collier.
He as an adult. Okay, he's your dad. That counts. Job.
College.
Okay. Career.
Oh.
No, that's a different word. Career.
Teaching.
Teaching. That's what you want to do for a living?
Sure.
Okay. Go back over here. Pastor.
Leader.
Okay. Integrity.
My parents.
Good one. Right. R-I-G-H-T. Right.
Like doing the right thing?
Whatever comes to mind.
Wrong.
Doing the right thing.
That's
Okay.
the opposite.
I said right. She says wrong. Typical teenager. Justice.
League.
League.
Yeah.
Superhero.
Wolverine.
Wolverine. One more. Future.
College. University of Oklahoma.
Okay. Youth. Youth.
Leading them?
Leading youth. Okay, so mentoring. So that is just, I just want to kind of break the ice, get y'all used to talking to your microphones. Y'all did great. And so what I want to do now, I want to talk about a couple of topics. The first thing I want to talk about is we have several about to be freshmen in college coming up this fall. And my question is, how are you preparing for college right now? I mean, what are you doing right now to prepare for college? Anyone? To prepare for college?
So for me, I'm going to North Carolina, so that's far.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to be cheering there. So we have a group chat with like all of the freshman cheerleaders. That way we can get to know each other before we just meet each other. So it's not like that awkward. And that way we have like a stable group before we actually get there.
So you're establishing community before you get there.
Yes.
I mean, how do you anticipate college being different from high school, if at any?
I'm actually excited to see the difference because I know it's a point in your life where you're growing and you're kind of going on to a new chapter in your life. So college is obviously going to be a little bit different than high school. So I'm just excited for that part.
Are there any expectations, things that you think is going to be in that college offers that you couldn't have in high school? Is there any expectations there?
Yeah, because I'll be pursuing my career and my major, which is political science.
Okay.
So I'll be able to take that major and learn more about the career that I want to go into in the field as well.
Anything different, Abby, about that you think is going to be different in college as opposed to high school?
Yeah, we got to arrange our schedule the way we wanted to, and also when you talked about expectations, if this past year has taught me anything, there is no expectations.
Whoa. Now, this is huge. She says, if this year has taught me anything, is that I don't have any expectations because any and everything can change on a dime. Now, for all of you guys, because you were in high school this year, I mean, especially my seniors, I mean, how has that been with most of your senior year, especially the month that count with graduation and prom? And did y'all have a prom?
I didn't.
You did not? Who had a prom? You had a prom.
We had a partial prom, kind of.
Now, what's a partial prom?
So the district canceled all the proms for every school.
MISD?
So, yes.
Uh-huh.
So then some parents got together and hosted their own prom.
Okay. And your deal?
I just went with my best friend, and we just went in our prom dresses and took pictures at a park.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sweet but sad at the same time. I mean, how do y'all feel? Do you feel like that's not fair? Do you feel like, how do you feel like the district did enough to make sure you guys can have those experiences? I mean, how do y'all feel about that?
I think it just taught me the value of uncertainty in life. You know, there's a lot of things that will happen that you're not really prepared for it, no matter how much you plan for it. And for me, at least, I was really excited for prom. I was really planning to get my dress and everything like that.
Wow.
And so whenever it was canceled, it was kind of like, wow, that sucks, but no matter how much you plan for it, there's always a chance that it won't happen, or you just have to be prepared for whatever happens.
Yeah, and there are a lot of kids that were weeping and bitter and angry and saying that that the district could have did something for us, right? I mean, I was thinking that maybe we have for July a bunch of late proms. So my question is, because I know some people. Would you guys even want to go to a senior prom? If we say we're going to have a senior prom the last Friday in July across the districts, is that something that you would even, or are you just over it now? Is there something you guys even want to do now?
I think, for me, the whole end of the year thing has kind of been lingering. Graduation was super uncertain, prom was super uncertain, we didn't get a last day, so it didn't really fully come to an end, I guess, because we didn't get that ending that
so there's no closure.
Expected. Yeah. So I feel like a prom would be, even if we don't know everyone, we still get a little bit of a closing chapter, I guess, from high school.
That makes sense. MISC superintendents, AIC superintendents, listen to what she's saying. That these seniors, do you feel the same way about no closure?
Not necessarily. Kinsey and I actually go to the same school, and I did.
You go to Legacy?
Yes.
I didn't know
yes,
that.
Sir.
Okay.
So we actually did have a graduation, and I think that helped me get a little bit of closure. But I can see where she's saying because of how strict things were, we couldn't see all of our friends at graduation.
Right.
And that was hard.
And one of those things, and back in the 1800s when I was in high school, one of those things is that last day of school with the yearbooks, and you're signing yearbooks, and you're saying you get buys. And it's did you guys even have a senior skip day this year?
It was Corona.
You had a lot of skip days? Corona was your skip day. All right. Well, so I can just see where this is a very intriguing class because of you guys hadn't had the typical high school experience. So my heart goes out to you, but there's something that I may want to propose to ISDs. Maybe we have, late July, a prom. Or if not a prom, some type of dance, something. Bring your yearbooks, bring your cameras to have some type of closing socially for the. I think that's a great idea. So now this is for everybody. I got to pull everybody in now. You guys are in high school. I need you to tell me and all you guys are Christians, as a Christian teen, how do you feel? Where are you in your spiritual walk right now? Would you, on a scale of 1 to 10? Where are you in your walk as a Christian young person right now on a scale of 1 to 10? start with Fabiola. Her name is Fabulous, actually. Fabulous. Go for it.
I think I'm at an 8 right now.
An 8?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's keeping you from being a 10?
Well, I always feel like there's room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
There's always more I could be involved in, more time I could be studying, all that kind of,
Mm-hmm.
studying the Bible and all that kind of thing. So, luckily, I'm in a D group right now, so I feel really close.
A what now?
A D group, a
A
discipleship
D group. Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
So I feel really close with those girls. We've been studying the Bible together, and so it's just been really encouraging. So I think,
Cole, how about you?
I'd probably say probably a 7 or 8. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably what's keeping me from a 10 is, thankfully, I'm in a D group as well, and that's been just really great getting to know the guys in that group this summer. But I mean, with this whole Corona thing, personally, I wasn't scared, but I just really didn't know what the future was going to look like, and so kind of still having to work on letting go, of anything that I like exactly what she said. We don't have any expectations because anything could change on a dime. So that's been kind of my thing, just being willing to let go of what I feel like I have.
And so for you guys, do you guys feel like certain things as a Christian now that when you're older, let's just say when you're an old person like 30, is what's going to be different? You feel there's something different when you turn 30 as opposed to you being 17, 18? Do you feel like there's going to be something different in your walk when you get older? What's kind of put on the shelf when you get older?
I think when you're 30, you're probably gonna have a family. So I think that your walk with God is more important then, because then you have to pour into your kids when you have a family.
Okay, that's a good one. How about you, ma'am?
I feel like when you're 30, you've had a lot more life experience than when you're 17. Because when you're 17, 16, 15, you're sheltered by your parents and you aren't actually in the world like you are when you're 30.
Mm-hmm.
You're not out there by yourself. And so whenever you leave and you grow older and you experience things that you didn't experience when you were 17, God can show you a lot more because you're not always being watched by your parents. Or
Very,
by people around
very
you.
good response. And to that end, when you talk about being sheltered, right? Speaking of being sheltered, what type of things you feel can you see that my parents are sheltering me here, but they really need to loosen up a little bit? Is there anything that you feel like your parents are sheltering or have sheltered you from? You feel like just loosen up a little bit. Talk to me on that. What type of things are you feel you're being sheltered from?
I think for me is independence, because I am going 15 hours away. So going that far away without getting a little bit of independence can be hard. So I do feel like my parents have begun to loosen up on that, so that way I'm more prepared.
Okay.
I'm not going to be completely prepared, obviously, because I am on my own. I have to take care of myself. I have to make myself accountable, go to class, stuff
Sure.
like that. So I feel like the whole independence thing is something that we're working on, but it hasn't been.
Give me, and Noah, I saw you laugh down there when you said about independence. What exactly came to mind when you were saying about whatever you feel your parents are sheltering you from and that type of nonsense?
I wouldn't say sheltering, but I think just she was saying about independence.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of that.
For what? What area of independence do you feel that you should be extended more of at 16 right now? How and what areas do you feel you should be extended more independence in?
I don't know. That's
So maybe you have all the independence that you need.
nah.
So what area of independence do you desire?
I guess just to trust I can handle myself. Now I'm just
In what type of situations?
I don't know. Just
Is that making sense? I'm asking. I want to know, and people want to know, what areas do you feel you need more independence in?
I'm good.
You said I'm good.
Good.
Help me out, people. Are there
Good.
areas that you feel that you should have independence in, or more independence as Christian teenagers that love the Lord?
there are areas that I want to have more independence in.
For example?
I mean, I don't know. Like, currently my sister's out with her friends over in Arkansas. And so I'm not my sister. She's like 2 years older than me. But still, I feel like I would like to be able to go out with good friends and just have some time together and just,
So you said go out with good friends. Now, how old are you, Cole?
How old am I?
How old are you?
I'm turning 16 in like
So
2
you're
months.
15, okay?
Correct, yeah.
Teens always tell you how old they're about to be. I mean, how old are you? You're 15. So at 15 years young, you want to go out with friends more.
Well, yeah.
Overnight?
I don't know.
Yes.
So you want to have sleepovers
Something like that, yeah.
with your guy friends?
Yeah.
Because I believe sometimes in our minds we feel as though we don't have freedom, but maybe we have more freedom than we think. And so at 15, I mean, you want like, oh, okay. You mean you want an extended curfew? You want me to stay out later?
I mean, I know that my parents give me plenty of freedom, but it's like.
So you're just complaining. Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, go for it. But
yeah, I mean, I know that they're great people, and I love my parents. But I mean, everyone has like something like, oh, I wish I could do this, but like, honestly, I feel like if I just took a second and like, do I really have like, first of all, do I need this? And second of all, do I already have this? You can kind of answer the question on your own.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I was kind of curious about what type of freedoms do you desire as young people that you're not getting? Anything you guys want to add? What type of freedoms you desire that you're not getting?
Well, for me, driving. So I like wanted to go I don't know, it's like Fort Worth one day. My parents were like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to be 3 hours away and driving myself. So at some point here, we got to try something new,
Abby, I have a very honest question for you. Are you a good driver?
Okay, Brooklyn, don't answer that. But yeah. I have improved greatly.
You've improved greatly. Maybe what your parents is saying is, we can't wait till you're able to drive to Fort Worth. But right now, your driving skills aren't the best, so stay away from the freeway. Could that possibly be what the deal is there, Abby?
I mean, you could have a point.
Yeah. So it's kind of for your own good that you stay away from 20 and 30 and whatnot. But I can see what you're saying, though, because you're going to be far away and stuff like that. And a lot of times, my wife and I, Noah drives, and we're particular about what time of night that he drives. Because Noah, he wants to go for a drive at midnight to clear his head.
Yes.
Is that you too?
Yes.
Why?
Driving is so therapeutic. I don't know
Facts.
what about it,
Facts.
but if I'm driving on the back road at night with my Jesus music blaring, that is the best worship session.
Repeat that last part. What kind of music?
Jesus music.
What kind of music do you play while you're? Don't answer that. So I like driving too. But can you see kind of the dynamic of being out at midnight at 16 years old, kind of cruising around and no particular place to be or go, how the optics can be kind of weird? And plus, are you about to say something?
I was going to just say, I think the common ground, and she nailed it on the spot whenever she said she likes driving. I think the common ground is we crave more self-independence. What that means is more like self-control. At the end of the day, you yourself have your own control of what you want to do and where you want to go and who you want to be with and stuff. And so I feel like sometimes as a kid or as a teenager especially, we have controls and guidelines from our parents that kind of say, okay, you can go out, but you have to come back at this time, or you have to do this. And so there's kind of restrictions or guidelines on it. So I think whenever she said driving, especially by yourself, you have control of the speed, you have control of whenever you can brake, you have control of how fast you can go. And so that kind of just feels the spot of having self-independence. That's something that you can control.
And I think something that teenage girls miss is that you're girls. You're girls, and it's different. It shouldn't be different, but it's different. You're a girl. It's different from you being out by yourself, driving around, and one of these knuckleheads, these two driving around. It's different. And so I think as parents, we are just a lot more protective. And I think you will be too, of your daughters than a son. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I know it sounds weird and that type thing, but, and I know your dad, so I know, I mean, I'm glad you can leave the front yard finally when you turn 20. But I think for girls and guys, it's just different from like, you know, from a safety perspective of being a young lady out, you know, at midnight driving, Abby. So, and do you wear glasses? Where are your glasses?
Where are they?
Yeah, do you just need them to drive, or
Yes.
are they in the car?
No,
Are your glasses?
I wear them all the time.
Okay. Do you have them with you when you
Yes.
leave here? Okay,
Yeah,
great. All right, just want to make sure, Abby. So let's get to common topics in the news today. One of the things I saw as pertains to mask. How do y'all feel about the requirement to wear a mask? That if that became like you have to wear your mask, what are y'all feelings about mask and corona?
I think
Obviously, none of us have them on. But
I think if it gets me to a college campus in the fall, you better wear your mask.
if you do what again?
I want to go to college in the fall, so you better wear your mask.
Wow. Okay, so you like wear your mask, period. Anyone else? How do you feel about wearing masks? Should it be mandatory or anyone?
Honestly, I don't really care. Like, yesterday I was going to the store.
Do what now?
Yesterday I was at the store, and it was like, you have to wear a mask to come in. And I didn't have a mask, so I couldn't get into the store. So I was like, use a shirt to like tie it on my face.
You okay? You like a terrorist at that point. But
Pretty much.
so I mean, but as young people, do you feel that the corona thing is being blown out of proportion? Do you feel it's a real thing? I mean, how do y'all feel? Talk to me.
I think it's definitely a real thing, but I mean, I'm not scared of it. So I play it by ear. Like whoever, like if I'm hanging out with someone, like I won't give someone a hug unless they tell me, because I'm gonna give people a hug if they'll let me. I'm like, heck yeah,
Just like your daddy. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Your daddy's a hugger. Okay. So you saying you just depends on where you are, but
Yeah, it's
personally,
just-
you're cool, but you honor other people's space.
Yeah, I don't mind. The
Okay.
only thing that would keep me cautious is not. I don't care if I get corona, honestly, because I'm a young guy and like I'm not scared of it, but I would feel really bad if I was the reason someone else got infected.
right.
You know, so that's the only thing that would keep me cautious. But other than that, just play it by ear. Whoever I'm around, they're like, hey, please wear a mask. I'm like, okay. And if
Yeah,
not,
and with that particular sentiment, and with sometimes you can be carrying it and not know, and you're saying you'd be crushed if you gave it to somebody. I mean, wouldn't that be a reason to wear the mask because you don't have it? Should that?
I mean, it's precaution.
Yeah. So you have a take on mask? I mean, is it a real thing?
I don't see reasoning why not to wear your mask.
Okay.
It's not that difficult. Even people with breathing problems can still breathe when they have a mask on. Of course, it depends on like the thickness.
Do you
of
wear
the whatever.
glasses?
I have contacts.
See, I hate the mask with my glasses because it
Oh,
always
yeah,
I
it fogs up.
hate that. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just think even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, I mean, sometimes you have to be a little bit uncomfortable to keep other people safe, and I just think it's not that big a deal to have to wear it.
I like this. You say it's not just about me and my comfort; it's about keeping someone safe. Were you about to say something on that?
I think it's more than just wearing a mask. It's also about like being careful. Like if you're in the store, don't touch something if you don't need it. And if you're gonna touch something, like especially leaving the store or before you go in, wash your hands. Just like. As
Are
an
you a
extra
germaphobe,
precaution.
Kinsey? I had no idea.
I'm not. Just like it's kind of crazy to think about how we lived before this whole
Wow,
virus.
I like
Because it's like, okay, I'm gonna go in the store. Oh, do I want this? No. Oh, let me just touch this and look at this. Oh, this looks soft. Like stuff like that, and like there is no bubbles, I guess.
Sure.
Like, now everyone's like, give me my space.
That's right.
So
So Nikki, my wife is a she's a scientist, so she does all these things with germs and all this good stuff. And she changed my entire world several years ago when she did this experiment where she swabbed like stair rails, buttons on elevators, and she told me about all of the germs. Escalators are the pit of hell for germs. When you touch that rail, that everything has touched that rail is now touched you. Then you go and eat a sandwich. And she just messed up my whole world about germs, right? And so, and you're right. Before now, we just live like there are no germs and just Live La Via Loca. Did I say it right? La Via Loca. La Via Loca. La Vida Loca. La Vita's a girl. But at any rate, but we just didn't even think about it. So now I think we are more mindful of germs and stuff like that. I'm not sure. I don't know. There's a lot of scientists that says that it was a good thing for us to be exposed to germs to a certain degree because it helps our immune system. And what a mask can sometimes do can lower, for extended length of time, it can lower our immune system. And we don't want to be a society where now we don't touch at all, right? Because that could be kind of paranoia. So that was curious. So all of you guys agree that masks are cool if it's not just for you, you're doing it for the benefit of others because you don't want to hurt nobody. Yeah. That's fair? Okay. Let's talk about also in our conversations. What are your conversations like? Because a lot of things we see on the news, we see a lot of protests now. All over the news, we see protests. And I was talking to an individual earlier, and I'm finding that the word protests and riots are being used interchangeably by some. When you hear the word protest and riot, are those the same thing or are they different?
No, I think
they're different.
Yeah,
they're very different.
Yeah, different.
For sure, different. Yeah,
different.
Very different.
So tell me the difference between a protest and a riot. I'm curious, what's the difference between a protest and a riot?
I mean, protest is a bunch of people who have a like-minded view, and they're coming together to peacefully try to find a way to get around that and to change the problem all together as a group.
Okay.
And a riot is like it's people who they have the same. We're all trying to get to the same place, but they're doing it in a way that, first of all, I think it's ruining the how people think of the whole thing. So like,
just taking the attention off the main thing.
Yeah, people who look at a riot think that people who are protesting for these rights that everyone should have are all like violent and like that they would just change on a dime and just start rioting. Mm-hmm. And just destroying things, which is not how it is and not how it should be.
Okay. Did you have something fabulous?
Yeah, so I feel like between a riot and a protest, people are showing their frustration in different ways.
Okay.
And so with the riots, they're resorting to violence to make a statement and to show their frustration, and they're destroying things, all that. And then a protest is, yes, we're frustrated, but we're going to come together in love. We're going to come together in peace and, fight against these things in a different way. So, but I do feel like both groups mostly are going towards the same thing, just dealing with it in different ways.
So how do you feel with you knowing what the subject matter is, but you're seeing people rioting on one side and people protesting on the other? And when you look at the numbers, there are way more peaceful protests than riots. But the media shows the riots and the looting. It magnifies that aspect, and I feel it takes attention off of the real crux of the matter. So as youth and young people, when you hear protest, do you hear riot or do you hear it as a protest?
Protest.
How do you convey that to other young people would say, who when they hear protest, they hear looting and they hear rioting? What's your advice to that young person?
To me, like, when someone looks at me and is like, oh, she's blonde, like, I don't want people to think, oh, like, she's not that smart. So if I look at a person that's protesting, why should I think, oh, they're just going to go rob a bank or smash a window? Like, that's not right. Just to stereotype
everyone. That's a different type of discrimination and a stereotype. Okay, so you don't want to be judged based on you being blonde. What is the issue? Why are people protesting? In your young minds right now, why are people protesting? Anybody?
I think from at least my point of view, being an African-American girl, the reason why people are protesting is because they kind of have a sense of numbness. They have a sense of a mix of emotions: anger, confusion, frustration. For me, at least, I was in the 5th grade whenever I first witnessed police brutality with Trayvon Martin. And I remember sitting with my mom, watching the verdict and seeing the verdict of what happened. And I myself was kind of confused on like why wasn't there justice served, what was going on. And so I wasn't really expecting it to continue. I wasn't expecting more African Americans to get killed by this situation. So for me, at least now that I'm 18, it's kind of like from the 5th grade all the way till now, enough is enough for me, and I'm only 18. And so I see the same grit and the same enough is enough from my mom, from my grandparents, from great-grandparents. I feel where they're coming from. And so I feel like you have to use your voice, and that's why people are protesting. That's why people are going out and doing the things that they're doing.
Who else? Why are people protesting? What's the issue? What is the issue? Or do you know what the issue? Do you know what the issue is, or what is the issue? I mean, what do you feel? What is the issue in your own words? Why are they protesting? What's the big deal, or is there a big deal? Or like mask, it's a big deal, but not really. I mean, what's the deal? Talk to me, somebody.
I don't. From what I can tell, obviously, what the these instances where the police have just been inhumanely brutal it's just terrible. And I think that being a police officer and being in law enforcement is a very honorable job.
Sure.
But humans are not honorable by nature.
Wow.
And so it's an honorable job is easily corrupted by someone who is by nature sinful, and it's terrible for all of this is just terrible, and it just breaks my heart and breaks I think it should break everyone's heart who witnesses or even just watches it on the news, and so I think it's just our sinful nature is coming through a very honorable job.
Go ahead, Kenzie.
I was just going to say, a lot of people are looking at it as a race issue, which we need to look at it as a human issue.
That's what I thought that was
human.
Spot on.
Like, the cop made a mistake, but George Floyd wasn't perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. So we don't need to punish every cop for one person's human indecency.
Absolutely. So with that same narrative of George Floyd flawed, the cop being flawed, we should not punish all police officers based on what the minority, the small percentage, in my guesstimation, do. We shouldn't paint them all with a wide brush. That's the same type of mentality that goes into racism. You know, painting with a broad brush everybody based on experiences with a few. In this situation, I think as Abby and think of what Afia was saying, what we're seeing though, we're seeing a recurrence, a common narrative of when this happens, this doesn't happen. When this happens, we're seeing across the board where when the small percentage of police officers do kill another human being, black, white, or brown, unlike the common citizen, they don't go to jail. They generally get a paid vacation while it's being reviewed. And I think that is what the crux of this is. And I think you guys are absolutely correct. We've totally missed the mark by making it about race, because if we make it about black, white, and brown, now by default, white people are gonna I'm white, so automatically I'm on this side. Black, I'm automatically on this side. And I think that's where we're losing. We're not having the honest conversation because we feel like we have to take a side. Something you want to say there? And so I think that you guys are spot on. I just want to interject that because we know it's a humanity issue and a sinful issue, we can't negate the vehicle that those inhumane practices are being carried out. And I think that's where many people are. And I was talking to individual, and I'm hearing a lot of the narratives of how young people are thinking is based on the frustrations that their parents share. How much of your worldview has been shaped by what your parents may have? Now, don't throw your parents on the bus, but I do know that parents say things in front of their kids that they never say in public. And sometimes those things have And so since we love and trust our parents, we'll adopt some of those ideologies, and it don't even match our hearts. It's just based on what we've been hearing. How do you maintain this balance, or how can you tell young people, how can they maintain their own identity and thoughts if they have parents, black, white, or brown, who do have a skewed sense of inequality and racism? How do you help them? Or because one girl at the thing that we had, we Are Related, the rally, it was one girl, she was there. She was a white 16-year-old girl. She went to Martin, and she had her mask on, and she had a hat on and shades. And I said, "Why are you dressed like that?" Right? She says, I don't want to risk my parents seeing me out here because they don't get it." I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well," and she started to cry. She literally started to cry. She says, "Because my parents, they don't get it." And she told me some of the things that they say. And she said, I love my parents, but my parents are racist. And my heart is bleeding. It don't matter what color the person is, my heart bleeds because that's another person being hurt unjustly. But my parents don't get it. But she still came out. She was covered up. How do you help parents? How could teenagers, without being disrespectful to their parents? Is there ideas that you can give young people about how they could, help their parents see? Because if you was brought up in a certain part of our country, certain things you may not be sensitive to. And as a whole, are you saying, and there's no wrong answer, do you see, in your opinions, is there inequality as it pertains to race? Is there inequality as it pertains to race?
Simple answer, yes.
Okay.
I think we view. Wait, you meant is there like
do you? Because some would say racism is a myth, that there is no such. There is no racism. And if so, where is it?
Racism is like God created us all equally, and so that's how we should be viewed.
Sure.
But through the pride of humans and through prejudice of a lot of different things, for some reason, people think that if you're a different color than I am, you're different than me, even though at the core of all of us is a spirit given from God.
So where do y'all? So is it real? Is it not real? Is it out of proportion?
I think it's totally real. And for someone to say that it's not, then they're not paying attention to what's going on, number one. Number two, God created us to love one another no matter what the color of their skin is.
I love, yes, ma'am.
I was going to say, it definitely is real, but it goes for any color. So
Yes.
it's not just white people are
Yes.
racist. Because I feel like throughout this whole thing, another big word is profiling. So they're saying that white people are racist to black people, but then that's kind of profiling white people. So not all white people are racist.
Totally agree.
I've grown up with every color in my school.
Sure.
I see color, but I don't judge a person based on their color. I judge a person based on their actions, their character.
Sure. And I'm glad Kenzie chimed in on that, because Kenzie's my niece. And I'm her, am I your favorite uncle now?
Yeah.
Pretty much. And honestly, I see this as my niece. This is my family. We connected when she was a little girl, and we've always been in each other's lives. Kenzie would call me any time of the night when something is going on. We have that relationship, right? When she introduces me to her friends and her little sister, I'm Uncle Ronnie. And so that is reality. Is it the norm? I don't think so. But it's our reality. And I think that we're in a culture to whereas that's not the norm. I mean, I'm not saying, and I like what she's saying. I feel that it's disingenuous. It's unfair for black people to say all white people are racist. It's unfair for white people to say all black people are a certain type of way. I think the common ground is, though we have those individuals that are white and black who can love and see content of character and heart, and we based on the type of person, not the skin color, whereas that is real, there is another demographic of black people who don't trust white people for nothing. And there's another demographic of white people who see black people and see them in a very nefarious, negative light. There's certain brown people who don't deal with black people. And so I just think that to go as far as to say it's not real because you don't think like that, I think that now that may be a bigger crime, because now you're saying my tears aren't real.
It also goes along with the human indecency part, because we're all human. It doesn't matter what color we are. We're all here. We're all going through life together. So just to judge someone based on their color is not right. They're as human as any of us. So. Yeah.
But how do we convey that? I mean, I think you guys have a chance of doing that some of us born in the 1800s don't have. I think you guys have never experienced segregated schools and stuff like many of us grew up in that era. And I think you guys have played sports people all the way, so you've been more exposed. And I think that puts you, in my opinion, ahead of the game to not let color be as a driving force of content and character. So I think that's a big plus. But as young people, honestly, where do you actually see? I don't want racism to be this thing, that this imaginary monster. How do you actually see it amongst your own peers? Do you see it amongst your own peers, and how? And how do you respond when your own peers may say something that's racist? Or how do you actually see it amongst your peers? Not saying you're a circle of friends, but we all got those friends who don't think like we think. How do we respond? Go ahead, Noah.
I want to say like racism, but like stereotypes.
Sure.
So like for my team in basketball, if we see like a team of like full of white guys, they will like discount that team. Whereas if they see a team like full of black guys, like they'll see the two teams like differently.
Right.
They'll approach the game different if they see like a team of.
They think it's gonna be an easy win because we playing the white boys.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. That is very true. Go a little deeper in force, like from a racist perspective. When you say, that's an example of racism from another teen. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, instead of seeing like this racist like mindset in my friends, I actually see it a lot more in my family, especially the older people.
Right.
My family's Hispanic. I'm Puerto Rican, but they ever since they were born, they were just always raised with this mindset of like stereotypes towards every race, like even themselves.
Wow.
And so in Puerto Rico, we have every single color you can think of. I've seen Puerto Ricans with blonde hair, blue eyes. I've seen Puerto Ricans with coily hair and completely dark skin. Like, it's all over the place, but they still form stereotypes. And so I've actually like clashed with family members instead of my friends, because they're not willing to listen. And a lot of times they just, this is how it is, and you're just a teenager, like you don't know anything.
Right.
But I'm the one that's like constantly listening, constantly learning, constantly researching, knowing the statistics, knowing what's going on in the government right now. Like 3 weeks into the Black Lives Matter protests, my parents didn't even know the name of George Floyd. And so I was like, hey, do you guys know who this is? And they were like, no, who is that? And so I feel like it's really important to like, talk to our parents, talk to the adults in our life, because honestly, the teenagers right now are mostly, in my opinion, getting educated. They're willing to listen, and they're like, what's going on? And
I can rock with that.
Adults are like kind of just sometimes in their own little world, not really paying attention.
Go ahead. Uh-huh.
And I was actually going to pull from what she said as far as the teenagers wanting to listen. I think that is one of the biggest problems in this society today, especially in America. I think we're all vocalizing our opinions and we're talking, but we're not looking at each other face to face and actually sitting down and making eye contact and listening to what the other person is saying. We both have things that we're super passionate about. We're both very strong and vocalize in a lot of things. However, we're not taking the time to actually sit and listen and see where this person is coming from. And I think a lot of people tend to think whenever you listen, you have to agree. No.
There you go.
Sometimes
There
you
you
just
go.
have to respect
Right.
the decision that they have
Right.
or the mindset of where they're coming from. But you don't necessarily have to agree. You just have to respect and try to work through that. Try to find a common ground that can be shared to equalize everyone.
Sure, and also and appreciate people's background, because there's certain things you're going to know because you've lived it, and certain things I'm going to know because I've lived it. And I think that because when I say that your reality isn't real, when I've never even been there, I think that's where we can what's called myopic thinking, because I am now saying, I'm going to tell you your reality that I've never walked. I've never, instead of listening to my perspective and trusting where I'm coming from, you're saying that my perspective isn't real. And I think that's where the offense happens. I can tell you it becomes offensive when you tell someone what they've experienced but that's not real. That's like me telling you that that's not real what you experienced when I wasn't there. Curious, dating. What's the topic? Because sometimes you can really know where someone's coming from. How do you guys feel about interracial dating as teens? I know we see a lot more of it now than we did back in the 1600s, but how do you feel about interracial dating?
I've been in a 2-year relationship with not a white guy, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
a Mexican. And I see like the differences in like how we have been brought up and like our parents and like meeting his family, him meeting my family, and like how we sit down for dinner and like different things like that. But it doesn't affect how we treat each other or it doesn't really affect anything in our relationship.
Big shout out to Aaron right there as her boyfriend. Anyone else? How do you feel? How do you guys feel about interracial dating?
I actually encourage interracial dating. Of course, like I said, the silent killer of America is racism. And racism does come from one-sided views. And so I feel like interracial marriage or interracial dating can kind of expose the different cultures in a good light. Yeah,
right.
And also as far as ignorance, but it can also expose the good light of other races and other people. And it's coming to the common ground of love, which is most important.
Go ahead.
Like one thing about like interracial dating, like when I was younger, I thought that was like illegal. I thought
You thought it was a what?
illegal.
Illegal?
Yeah. So, like,
You grew up in the 1500s, okay?
It's like like was like the mindset of you can't date somebody white or you can't like date somebody like a different race.
Based on what? Where'd that?
I don't even know. Like around the school, it was like you just couldn't do that. And so I just thought that it was.
Did you guys experience that?
Like, so I had to like.
On the corner, I haven't heard from her yet. Let me get this on the corner.
To some degree, like growing up a white girl, I always, saw that thought that I was gonna get married to a white boy. But it doesn't mean that I know, like it does. I mean, I've never had a boyfriend, so I can't like say.
You never had a boyfriend?
No, I've never had a boyfriend.
Okay.
But like, I wouldn't be opposed to dating to somebody that's not white. Like, it's something that I grew up with, like on TV. You kind of always see a white girl marry a white boy, like
Sure.
Cinderella and like all those people.
Right.
But like as you get older, you see that it's not as big of a deal. Like a human's a human. Like if you love them, you love them. So.
Love it. No, did you finish your thought? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. You never told me that. That's intriguing that it's like like you felt an unwritten rule that you couldn't. Cole, did you have that experience as well? Is that your experience?
I mean, it's like it was like a thing where nobody said like, oh, you can't be attracted to like an African American girl, or it's just like everyone. Yeah, it's exactly what she said. It's like you just see it you would always see it in the media and like the stories of like, you would never hear stories. I think I remember I was like 7, I think, when I first like really grasped like a friend of ours that was interracially married. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how cool is that? I'm like, that's so like, because at the time I'm like, I didn't know any better. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. But then I'm like, hey, this shouldn't be something that's like crazy. This shouldn't be something that you're like, wow.
And this is why I'm so hopeful about our youth, because I think you guys have a broad sense of okayness that a lot of us in the 1300s did not grow up with. Do we have questions over here? Okay, so we're opening up for questions for those that may want to ask any questions for our panelists. And as we're opening up for questions, a question is, right now in college, in high school, preparing for college, how do you plan? Do you see church as a part of your future when you go to? Is that now ingrained in you that when I go off, I'm going to continue? And if so, what are some practice? Because sometimes people go off to college and say, well, I just can't find a good church. How do you plan to deal with that when you can't find a great church like the one that you attend? I mean, how do you plan to deal with that?
I'm actually going to agree with that. This is a great church that I attend every Sunday, even on the streams. But that is one of my biggest concerns, especially whenever I go to tech. Which church will I be able to go to? I'm probably still going to just end up streaming my service online. However, the biggest thing for me is just keeping my faith with God.
There you go.
And like whenever I tell you guys, I pray every night. It's not even the fact of just praying for myself. It's praying for strength to continue to keep that to continue to keep that faith.
Right.
In college, despite all the temptation that will be surrounded by me, because that is one of the things that really get teenagers is the temptation.
That's
and
right.
So I'm praying to God.
And the freedom.
Yeah.
Abby.
And the freedom. So I just pray to God that he gives me not only faith, but also enough strength to resist temptation.
You. Love it. Love it. Abby?
Well, for me, so I'm going to the University of Oklahoma. Boomer sooner.
Boomer.
But it's basically in the Bible Belt, same as like Texas. There's a lot of churches like around OU campus and that we can go to. But actually, I'm already in a Bible study that started up by freshmen.
Whoa.
They're going to be at OU in the fall. I just met a girl and she's like, hey, like I'm starting this Bible study. Do you want to like join the group me? I was like, well, yeah, I do. And I've already met some like good friends and we've been doing Zoom calls once a week. And to me, that's just been really encouraging to find some believers that are like in the same boat as me that are scared.
They're scared?
Like I'm not scared, but like like this past year, I just kind of got like a good friend group at church. And so I'm really sad to leave them. And I'm kind of scared that I won't be able to like have that same community that I have here.
Let me just share with Abby, Afia, and Kenzie, since you guys are going off to college in just a month or so. I think if you get there and you don't find a church that you just gel with, the community is still important. So I would say, take what you know to start what's not there. She said, someone walked up to her and said, hey, I got a Bible study. You can do the same thing. Even on Sundays, you get people in your dorm room to stream your service. You can create community. So don't just not go to church because you can't find a church that you really are kind of into and loving. Create what does not exist. Because you guys are sitting on this stage, you guys are leaders. So go and lead. You may be the person that God has planted on that campus to reach another young person who's not as grounded as you are. So I would say if it doesn't exist, create it. And it begins with an invitation. Hey, I'm streaming our church on 11 o'clock. Come to my dorm room. Let's check it out. Let's gather around my phone and check it out. Let's start this. And so you can be that progenitor to create what does not exist there. That makes sense? Okay. We are doing really good on time. Our challenge maintain spiritual. One of the greatest. So far, as a high school student, what has been the biggest challenge for being a Christian in high school? What has been the biggest challenge to maintain as a Christian in high school?
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure, the P word. And what
Very
type of peer pressure do you receive?
So like I mentioned, me and my boyfriend have been together for 2 years. And people just automatically assume that we've done things.
Right.
And
done things like fast and pray together? I'm with you. Keep going.
And I'll be like, no, we don't do that. We're both waiting for marriage. We've both talked about it, and we both want
everybody hands together. Beautiful, beautiful. And we have a deal.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
But I do have the people that are just like, well, why don't you just do it? Just get it over with. And
wow.
I'm like,
just get it over with.
That's what hits me.
Wow.
I'm like, it's not something you're supposed to just get over with. It's a gift to each other, and it's made for marriage. It's not made for teenagers in high
Preach.
school. So
Preach.
it just, like, that part really hit me hard.
Wow.
So.
You see why we're related. You see resemblance now. Noah, how about you, sir? What is the greatest, one of the biggest challenges of being a Christian in high school?
For me, there hasn't really been a challenge like keeping my faith at all for me.
Have you seen it be a challenge for other people who profess to be Christians?
Oh yeah, for sure.
How so?
Just peer pressure, just trying to fit into the crowd and doing what others are doing.
And what are others doing?
Smoking, drinking, having sex.
In high school?
Yeah.
Smoking, drinking, and having sex. And you're saying that, how come that's not luring towards you? How come that's not something that you're feeling pressured by?
Just because it's not something I want to like get involved in. It's easy for me to just not to stay away from it. So I know like the consequences that they hold. So I just don't do any of that.
Cole, are your friends weed heads too, or?
No. I'm grateful enough to have a few friends, some good friends in high school they're Christians, and they may not be like super practicing Christians, but they don't like drink and smoke and have sex and stuff. So I haven't dealt with as much external peer pressure, like someone like, hey, you want to smoke or something. I've just dealt with, internal peer pressure.
Oh,
like
that's so good.
Figuring out, like, who do I want to be?
I love you.
Aw, thanks. I love you too. But yeah, I've just like been trying to figure out, like, it could be something as small as like, I'm getting dressed in the morning. I'm like, okay, well, this is what I want to wear, but you deal with like, maybe I should wear this because this person will like me more, or it fits in with this crowd more.
Wow.
And it's just been, that's probably the hardest part. And then along with that comes like, when you're in your head so much when it comes to the peer pressure thing, it's hard to get out of your head and evangelize and just plant any seeds when you're stuck within your brain,
You had something there?
Yeah, to me personally, my family and like we have a history of like alcohol abuse in our family.
Oh.
So that is a very hard thing for me to deal with, to see a young adult or a teenager going to parties or going to whatever. I'm not saying that I don't like to have a good time. I do. But you need to be responsible. And to me, I forget that there are people out there that view alcohol as a good time or just something to like take the edge off. And to me, I see it as something that Satan has created to tear families apart or to tear down your life.
Wow. They're clapping in the back. That's a word. That's a word. So from I want to stay on this peer pressure thing. And I love what you said. It's an internal thing because we all want to fit in, right? And sometimes young people make these mistakes because they want to fit in. They're curious, and they can sometimes walk that line, right? I'm curious again. How are you seeing Christians, kids you go to school with, they're one way at church, but then everybody's saying amen. How do you, do you say anything? Do you let them live how they want to live? Do you feel responsibility?
I don't necessarily feel like it's my responsibility to correct. I understand it's my responsibility to correct them, but I don't feel like I need to be on them 24/7 about how they live their life.
Right.
I need to show them God's love and let God work in them and let Him do His thing. Because I'm not God, so I can't fix them. So I just need to plant that seed. Even though they're already a Christian, they still need some help. So just encourage them to go to church, encourage them, love them, be there for them if they need you, but still point them to God, even though they're,
I'm going to let y'all in on a secret. Go ahead. You have something, Abby?
Yeah.
Fabulous? That's your nickname forever.
I go to Duncanville High School, and we actually have this group called Tabernacle there, and I'm a leader in that the school considers it a club or organization. It's basically just a little church after school.
Sure.
But it's helped me accountability wise, because then it's
They look towards
And
you.
as Christians, like, we should care what we do, how we live,
Amen.
because we're representing
Yes,
God
yes.
to begin with.
Bumps.
But so at school, it kind of works the same way with this group, because I know whatever I do, I'm representing God
There you go.
through this group that we're constantly
There you
inviting
go.
people to. So
And you don't want to be a
it's been-
hypocrite.
I don't want to be a hypocrite, right?
Right.
So and then so it's just basically worrying about how you're representing, not like worrying, but knowing that you're representing this group. And so I feel like that's what's helped me throughout high school stay consistent, because one, I
love
have
it.
that community of kids that I see every day in the hallways, that we're constantly growing together, and two, because it's more like an accountability of like, hey, don't forget that you're like representing and you're,
Let me say this. Another amen in the corner. Let me say this for all of you guys, right? When people identify you to be the Christian, and you to be the Christian, and you're the Christian, and you're the Christian, you're the Christian, you're the Christian, you're the Christian. When people identify you as that, sometimes they'll do things in front of you just to see what you say. And oftentimes our silence can be complicit. Because they'll say, well, I did that in front of Fabulous. She leads the tabernacle. She ain't say nothing. She knows what I do. And so I think there's a balance. We don't want to be the mother hen, the overhand, peck, 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 peck. No, not that, that's not it. But you must go on record to say, listen, I love you, but I got to tell you that that's not good for you. Listen, you live your life, that's not good. And you'd be shocked. You may be that one person for the rest of their lives. They'll say that one time in the 10th grade, that one time my senior in high school, I remember Cole pulled me to the side and said, man, you really need to stop smoking as much as you smoke. The one time when Athea pulled me to the side as a freshman in college and told me, you really shouldn't drink like that when you go, and introduce your faith. And sometimes ask them the simple question, I'm just curious, do you know Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior? Because sometimes the problem might be they're not saved. Therefore, they're not even convicted against the things that you're convicted. And sometimes the conversation starts simply, I know it's going to sound kind of morbid, but if you were to die today, are you sure you'd go to heaven? That's a hell of a question. And that may be the question that the Holy Spirit uses to have a continued conversation with that person. So don't shy away from the opportunity to win someone to Christ. And remember, because what will happen is, you will be that friend that when the party's over, when the jokes are over, they'll say, Kinsey, can I talk to you about something? And you'll be that one that they have the serious conversations with. And so it's very important that I love it that you guys are already being connected and having community before you get to college. I think that is key. Where am I on time? Okay. Are we good over here? Okay. Anything else that you guys want to share as we wrap up? Anything you guys want to share for any young person listening to this panel? If there's one nugget that you want to leave a young person with, what might you want to give that one nugget about anything we've talked about, especially our OG seniors, and you guys have done it and about to go to college. Let me start with you as a matter of fact. What might you want to tell a high school student currently who's trying to get to where you are? 28 seconds, go.
Okay, so I would just encourage them to live every moment living for our God, our Savior, because you don't know what the last time you'll see your friends, or I didn't know when my last day of senior year was, and there are people that I could have loved on harder and probably won't see again.
Wow.
So just keep living for Jesus and you'll have a good time.
Until homecoming, when you come back, then you'll see him. Go.
I will say just continue to keep your faith with God. High school, really life, at least your faith with God, is going to be like a track and like you running hurdles. You're going to get to the hurdle sometimes, and sometimes you'll be scared. Sometimes you'll fall from the hurdle, or sometimes you'll leave a scar, you'll leave a mark. But at the end of the day, you have to get up and you have to continue to finish the race. You have to keep on running. You have to keep on jumping over each and every
hurdle. Fear.
You have to continue to jump over each and every hurdle, and you're gonna have so much reward, and you're gonna feel so much better once you finish that race.
Wow.
Once you get, it doesn't matter what place you're in, just as long as you finish it. That's really the most important thing.
That's a bad girl right here, man. That's a bad girl. Come on, Kenzie.
I would say to think for yourself, because high school is very, influential, I guess. It's very easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing and trying to fit in. But when you think for yourself, it sets yourself apart, and then they see you and they're like, oh, well, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And then that way you can kind of open them up, and like you can preach to them or help them in any situation. Just think for yourself. Don't let anyone tell you what you should be doing.
Right.
Just be your own person.
I love it. I love it. I love it. As you guys are approaching the fall semester, how are you approaching this upcoming school year? It's going to make it a better year for you. How are you approaching the school year as a Christian?
Okay, so this past school year, I was very busy. Like I wasn't with the Lord every single day like I should have been, just because I was so busy trying for my own gain. And so this year, I'm going to work extremely hard to work at everything like the Bible says, as if working for the Lord and not for man. And
Whoa.
I'll be working for his gain and make sure that everything I do, everybody knows that
Who
I'm doing
are
it for
these
the Lord.
kids? My goodness.
Yeah, and so I just make sure that I spend time with the Lord every day, and I let everybody know that I'm doing everything for him and not for myself.
I'm adopting all y'all. Go ahead.
I think something that God's been working in my heart recently is just, and I've been hearing it at my church lately, is to constantly be on mission. And so when we go on mission trips, it's like we know I'm here for Jesus, and I'm here. Every single thing I do, every conversation I have is for Jesus. And we've just been learning, like, go to college on mission, go to your high school on mission, go to the grocery store on mission, like constantly be on mission.
She's killing it.
And so I feel like I've been building that mentality, and I feel like if all Christians had that mentality, then it would be, and it keeps your faith strong as well, because you know that your purpose is to bring glory to God, and your purpose.
You're 16?
Yeah, turning 17 next week, actually.
I didn't ask you what you're gonna turn. You're 16. I told y'all, teenagers, just say your age. You turn 17 next week.
Yeah.
I love that perspective. Live your life as if you're so right. When you go on a mission trip, you know why you're there, and everything you do. People, that is crazy.
Yeah.
When you start dating, let me know. I have a certain 16-year-old who needs guidance. Go for it.
I mean, something that's just like been with me is words speak, but actions speak louder. So I mean, I definitely get caught up in preaching, but not doing.
Sure.
Growing up with a pastor, you learn a lot of coffee shop, coffee mug phrases. Like,
sure. Yeah.
Like God's got you.
Yeah.
But like, it's hard to live that out, and show people don't just tell them like
sure.
who God is to you. Show them how He works
Wow.
in your life at the moment, And I think that builds a lot more trust with people. Christians who are struggling. Just like you said, be the person who you can have the hard conversations with.
Sure.
And then just for the people who don't even know who Christ is, because they're like, "What's that? Like, why do you act like that?"
So going to school, you're saying you want to mime Christianity, not just speak it.
Yeah, for sure. I want to be the hands and feet of Jesus, not just the mouth.
Now, are you planning to go into ministry vocationally or?
Well, you mean it's a job, like?
No, as a side hustle. Yeah, if it's a job. Do you see yourself? And is that because you speaking about being on mission and you two? So do you see yourself, especially having a dad as a pastor? You see that vocationally?
I've never seen myself going into ministry, but I mean, God does whatever He wants. So I mean,
I'm about to hit you with this microphone. That is so good.
If He calls me, He calls me. But I've never thought, oh, you're gonna be pastor one day.
Well, based on how you was holding the microphone, you may be a rapper. I told you it's weird. Noah Goins, going to this year, what's up? What do you see yourself doing differently or maximizing this year as a believer?
First, just setting more time just for God and not being so focused on school or basketball. Just setting a time for just God and just being more focused in my faith. And then I'll also say I'll be a senior. Just showing an example for my team, basketball-wise, and just modeling what a Christian is. Because I go to a private school, but not everyone is I mean, it's like a Christian private school, but not
Right.
It's like Christian. Like they said
Right,
it.
right. It ain't Christian, right?
Right. I guess just modeling like what a Christian is and being an example for like the lower classmen, just I guess helping them in their faith.
I love it. I love it. And so I want you to get their information, especially this tabernacle thing y'all got going on. I want y'all and Cole, I want you to get to Chuck. I need with their youth group for our next youth conference, we need to invite them back because I'm loving what I'm hearing. Cole, I mean, Fab. I need a nickname for you. I'm gonna call you Headscarf. But I'm really digging just as 15 and 16-year-olds where y'all are right now. I mean, I couldn't even spell faith well when I was when I was 15. And so we are a little over on our time. But did you guys enjoy this setting, this dialogue and stuff? Yeah. Did it feel safe and easy? Because sometimes you may not feel you have the right to say certain things because of your skin color. You know what I'm saying? And you feel like, well, if I can't say this, it may not be received. Listen, let your faith speak louder than your skin color, and you'll always be fine. Everybody, thank y'all so much for tuning in and streaming today. We have some guests in the audience. Clap, 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 guest people. Awesome. Give it up for our panelists, for yourselves. Panelists, give it up for yourselves. Give it up for yourselves. Give it up for yourselves. Awesome. I have some gifts for y'all. Do we have our gifts for the panelists? Go get them. We have to buy them lunch. Okay. Well, God bless y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see you next week for Koinonia Couch. God bless you. Thank y'all. Awesome job.